featured reader for tonight is Zara Raab. She has come out from the Bay Area for us. Her poems have appeared in such prestigious literary reviews as River Styx, The Dark Horse, Crab Orchard Review, the Evansville Review, and Arts and Letters. She works as an editor and writing coach, helping writers to explore and expand their work as poets or prose writers. Her own most recent books are The Book of Gretel and Swimming the Eel, which the critic Stephen Kessler, editor of the Redwood Coast Review, described as a moving and impressive work of art with a combination of formal coherence and musical fluency, a beautifully sustained sequence of poems. And of her book, Swimming the Eel, our very own Cleo Griffith wrote, Zara Raab has long entranced us with glimpses into her ancestral life. Now we have the wonder of it in Swimming the Eel. We are grateful. Raab's essays and reviews are published in nationally known journals, including Poet Lore and Colorado Review. She has worked as an editor for the National Geographic Society and New Republic Books. Her blog, Writing Around the Bay, appears regularly online in the San Francisco Book Review. So just as Cleo is grateful for Zara's writing, I am very grateful that Zara is here to share her writing with us tonight. Please help me welcome Zara Raab.
I actually have a new book out since Swimming the Eel called Fracas and Asylum, and another book coming out in a couple of weeks in the series following my Gretel book. It's based on, it's a retelling of the story of Rumpelstiltskin. So I have some postcards there if you're interested. But I don't know, do any of you have ice trays in your freezer? So you, maybe not many people. Does everyone have automatic ice dispensers now? Anyone here have ice trays? Okay, a few people. Okay, so okay, good, because I have ice trays. And the problem with ice trays is getting the ice out. So this is a poem about getting the ice out. It's called Work It On Out, with a little reference here to some pop culture. Beneath a warm tap, I run the regulation tray. The bed water makes with Freon. Sheeted corpse stiff from the morgue of my small, humming freezer. 5 o'clock come round again. To tray back, I press my thumbs, extracting ice, I presume, from the hard, smooth glacier. But thrust alone does nothing to free and scatter the dice into the thirst-quenching glass. Come on! It takes twist and shout to fracture in one moment the trough of clean, creamy plastic. Then the ice teeth spark, clink, glint, chatter, finally tumble out, rippling the mint of my tea. Nice, if you put a G in front of it, is a form of rock. And so this poem is in memory of my father. Nice, not nice. Even deer raise their heads to stare the day, pitching and tumbling, he comes round, Lee, flying the two-prop Cessna to survey the land, buzzing high above the green, over ribbons of slate gray highway. But like snowflakes, nothing lasts. Cloud will crumble to mackerel or shatter. Banks will shut their doors in certain moods. Under pressure, body adds layers. Nice. Without a G, he's not. But wow, with G of gold, how he do glitter. Coarse-grained rock of feldspar and quartz and mica. His nice with G. means sparks. I don't know if you have it here, but in Berkeley, well, in the cities around the Bay generally, there are a lot of homeless people. Do you have a lot of homeless people here too? People who really live on the street? I don't know, homeless is, you know, maybe they do have a home, but it's not what we would call a home, and so they're living on the street. And I have a series of poems about that life, and in them I often identify with I speak in the voice of the homeless, the street person. This one is called To Berkeley, CA, and Bishop Berkeley of Cologne, who lived from 1685 to 1733, for whom the city is named, doubted the existence of everything but light and color. I know this because I studied philosophy years ago with a bunch of hardcore philosophers, and Bishop Berkeley was central. His thinking is regarded as a precursor to that of Albert Einstein. It's sort of an extreme form of empiricism. Okay, so this is To Berkeley, in the voice of City, you gather all of us within your gates, the middle class, the rich and homeless, those who have pocketed their doubts or spent them on gymnasium or gem, nursed from paper bags in parks. My own doubts breed like ruin. They are my heart clock alarms, sounding the minute. Have you none? Who stay at home? Spellbound poets, Homer and Mandelstam, roam town to town, room to room, mistaken for traders or tramps, dodging the workplace, sent to exile, lost to pogrom. We homeless take little, expect less. To crackling electricity, I prefer star or darkening mist, and take my fantasy neat in glass, and rarely share my sorrow. Emergency visits, I never ask. But you will not allow this sparrow her fall, distilling the clouds. You imagine you are God. I weary of your word, and take to the earth, sleeping first above, then soon underground. No doubt your emergency's coming. No room is big enough for it. The faults crack, the seas rising. Soon one of my kin may demonstrate to you the joys of making do beneath a hard, cold, starless night. This poem was written in April, recently, tax time, last April, I guess, so it's coming around again pretty soon. Filings, it's called, in which that event features as one of the filings in our lives, of which there are, I guess, quite a few when I thought about it. I slogged an entire day smoothing out papers on my desk, sorting, putting them away, receipts of items purchased, tiny slips from ATMs. I peered at them all. I asked, this Dad's Day card never claimed, this poem to him still in draft. Now that he's dead, carpe diem, do I toss them in the trash? Or sort them out by name and file them, tab to the left? Those I keep, I file by kin. Miscellany on murder, nest with Anna on mayhem, in buff manila folders, scrawled IOU with bold-faced debt, clipped by due dates together, love sonnet and triolet of common descent, restored beside blank verses of regret, investment and tax record, Noah's woolly animals filing 2 by 2 abroad. In this way, they're rescued all, at least for now, from the Xerox flood of crinkled originals, though each and every jot traces back to a lineage common to all, the zero plot. When my father was a young man, he had a cousin up at the Mattole River. Do you know the Mattole in Humboldt County? And he went out fishing where the Mattole hits the sea, and his hip boots filled with water, and he drowned. And of course, you know, in Humboldt County there were massacres of native peoples 150 years ago. It's one of, you know, along the West Coast there were some places where it was pretty bad, the genocide. So this poem sort of imagines a meeting of the two peoples, the newcomers and the old-timers, the native peoples, in a new kind of encounter. This is from my book, Swimming the Eel. This is in a ballad form, a rough ballad form. And I used the eel because I thought it somehow was more musical, even though it was the Mattole. Fishing the eel among the Athapaskans. To the place of the Athapaskans, Tom Brew came for salmon that ran, spawning the Pacific, where 3 Wiat elders were weaving their nets and stitching the casing. One motioned with his stick. In his hip boots, Tom went to him, through fescue grasses, high as his shins, shouldering his creel. 2 men standing where eel fell to sea, the Wiat at home in their teepees, Tom with his lines and reel. Week by week, the summer green bled from the grass as the salmon spread splendor through the river, casting out. Tam caught 7 salmon in hues of tangerine, almond, apricot, and silver. The Wiat praised them in Athapascan, but said, "Let's follow the bracken, seaward, past the quicklime." The sun was setting, their pace was slow. Day winding down, for the coho too a swallow of time. Tom trailed after the ancient Wiat. The wind blew and the white caps greeting the Wiats who wove. He shivered. It's cold and growing late. Upriver my tired father waits by a pine wood stove. Just as the sun pierced the blood roots, the tide swamped him, filling his boots, releasing his foothold. Though wild, flailing like memory lost, thrashing away out of chaos. The drowned quickly go cold. No ferryman waited with solace. Only eelgrass in deep forests quickly set caressing. No pines waited on the eel's far shore. Only kelp on the ocean floor, among sea worms glowing. Tides rolled over Thomas like a cloud, where old Wiat bones were plowed. The Kurak, the Karuk, the Hupa, they mingle in the mouth of the eel, turning, as on a wheel, the Wiluka, the Cholula. High above the shore's barren rocks, spin the herring gulls, gannets, and auks. Teepees have all perished. Beside them swam the spawning salmon in their iridescent tissue. Coho, too, have vanished. This is called Wild. It's from Swimming the Eel, too. When I was a girl, there was people would leave their abandoned farms, and somehow we came across one and spent the summer there. And there were these boar, wild boar, who ran through the grass, the fields. It was, and I was 8 or 9. In the poem, I make myself older, but it was shivery, wild. We glimpsed them from inside the wire mesh of the cool sun porch, the bristled spines, dun streaks of some rippling the dusky air, others with the lumbering gait of Bruins, sounder of dark farrowing sows streaking Mendocino sedge. Once beasts of hunting or figures of blasphemy and ruin, nothing stops them, grizzled and stiff-haired on the unruly homesteads. Not woodbines, not fences, not even the waist-high rush. One night we caressed. A huge male passed. I was 15 then. We lay concealed by grass and heard him snorting and rooting with his long, sharp tusks, eager to dig out the hawkweeds and gorge on bristly carrot and too ripe fruit. His sows would be fattening soon come the autumn in the yellow fields, where the white-tailed deer startle and bound. For creatures tamed or traded, wildness is only lying fallow, waiting, blameless. You'll give me the signal. Okay. Okay, 5. Okay, good. Thank you. Nothing like running over. Maybe I'll read. Maybe I'll just read 2 more. That should probably be more than enough. This one's called Oscar. It's based on a story. A lot of these stories come from my mother, and when she was, I don't know, not older than 4, she was sitting on the porch in Branscombe, a valley where there really was no other people, quite a wild place. All her schoolmates were her siblings in the one-room school. But a dog bit her very badly, and so she was sent, there were no hospitals, and a vein was cut, and an artery, and anyway, it's a complicated story, but one of those family tales. Oscar, not the tail-wagging beagle who followed her everywhere in the fields off Laurel Street, spotty, floppy-eared, who later took up sheep wrestling. Not the black and white pug, round-cheeked and bellied, smelly, mouth dripping, rear wiggling. No, this was Oscar, the marigold-colored mutt who, the day she sat splay-legged by the nasturtiums on the summer veranda, trotted up from fields of corn, and when she started up, sprang and bit hard her upturned face, spilling the blood that sent waves through her, along the dress she wore, her sister's dress, the one already red, now red again in each seam, stitched by the mother's hand. This is another poem from my mother's life in this valley, Jackson Valley. There were a lot of veterans from the Civil War who settled there on their pensions. In fact, I recently read even John Brown's, one of his daughters or daughter-in-laws, you know John Brown, settled in Humboldt County, I guess, sort of fleeing the war. So this is a scene from my mother's life when she was a girl walking in the Soda Springs, Billy Gowan. It's kind of a lonely place in a way. We'd been traipsing the long afternoon through the bramble when we came upon him hanging from the oak, his black boots almost scraping on the ground, bowing down a branch half cleft from the oak's crown. His hands seemed to take back what he'd done. They at least had wanted life, clawing to unknot the fraying jute. His thick, blackened nails cut and bloodied. Now the arms hung loosely at his side. His trousers were stained dark in the crotch. The eyes in his ancient face held watch on the air where the black crows circled. I'd never seen a body before, cut down and laid out in the stinkweed. He had no kin, so he was buried with our own, the only name he bore, the name we gave him and had chiseled on his headstone in the spring solstice. Billy Gowing, a stranger to us. Thanks so much. You were a great audience. I hope I didn't bore.